Hello, chess friends. This is a continuation of my chess.com bot challenge. I'm working on the intermediate series right now with Hans, rated 1000, playing the black pieces. Starts with e4, e5. This is interesting. If this were played with colors reversed, white would have normally placed his knight on f3, and then if black plays his pawn to f6, then knight captures e5 would be a winning move. This move only makes sense in my opinion if it's going to be followed up with d3, bishop e3, followed by knight c3 or knight d2, and then castling long to the queen side. This move makes no sense. I mean, you do get rapid development of the bishop, but the cost of a center pawn, it's not enough compensation. More meaningless moves. White loves an active queen. Perhaps, to be charitable, the idea would be to play c3 first, and then after the bishop moves, queen would capture the pawn. For instance, c3, bishop takes g1, queen takes pawn check, and then after, let's say, black plays queen e7, queen takes e7, king takes e7, and then rook takes g1. However, black simply overprotects his king pawn, and none of that will work. This bishop would have been better been developed here, so the knight can go to d2. This was a mouse slip d6 move. I intended to play d5, and so I played that on the next move. Harassing the queen with a little gain of time. Now, of course, his pawn is pinned, so it would not do to play pawn takes pawn because queen captures bishop. However, white solves that problem by capturing himself. Queen moves off the back rank, connecting the rooks. So, following my normal plan of development, which is stronghold in the center, develop the minor pieces, and then castle. Finally, after all that's done, I can connect the rooks. Those are the order of priorities that I have in the opening. Sinking my pieces into weak squares in the third rank. It's usually good. The point of this move was to target the bishop, try to trade the knight for the bishop. If the bishop tries to escape the trade, like let's say it goes to b3 or a4 or f3, then knight takes c2. Check. After this move, I simply should have just followed up with knight captures a bishop, which was my original plan. However, now I played a lazy move. Grandmaster Ben Finegold said never play f6, and that's usually correct. And so here, I made the blunder of playing f6. which actually loses a piece. It's hard to see how such an innocent looking move. And by the way, the reason I was thinking about playing f6 is I forgot about my train of thought here, and I was going to want to develop my rook to the d file. And I can't right now because the bishop is on the d8 square. So I play this lazy move f6 without first considering checks and captures that my opponent can do. And so f6 loses a piece. It's a blunder. And the reason it does is white can now check on this diagonal, and keeps that keeps the knight from going to either of these escape squares. That means after the king was out of check, king f2 will pick up the knight, and black's winning advantage, which he had before this blunder, is completely wiped out. However, fortunately for black, white did not realize the importance of his check on b3. So now he doesn't gain the piece, and he goes back to a losing position. And now we see I have an escape square here for this knight. The knight can simply come here, and it's perfectly fine. However, since he didn't move his bishop, knight takes bishop was good enough. This move, chasing the knight to see where it goes, gives the knight an extra option besides f5. I think besides f4, I think f4 is stronger in this case, but knight to b4 would have been also satisfactory. And notice on knight here to f4, it targets this square, threatening a fork on these two rooks, and it also targets this square, threatening a fork of this rook and the king here. So the only sane move would have been rook here, and that would protect the square, and then just give up the pawn here with check. After the king was out of check, the knight comes back to f4. Instead, white makes a blunder, giving it more material. Targeting the knight on, just bringing a rook to the open file, incidentally targeting the knight on d2. There's no good discoveries right now, so I decided to go ahead and double the rooks on the open file. First, this intermediary move. And the reason I inserted this move here was to stop him from trying to gain some counterplay with this g5 with the idea of g takes f6. Would give him a little counterplay. Not enough, of course, because black is up the exchange plus 3 pawns. So now I commence the operation of doubling the rooks on the open file. Might have been worthwhile at this point to push the knight to a over square, like so. Perhaps. Yes, evaluation remains clearly winning for black. So I think that was a worthwhile move, but many things win here. Targeting the knight, and it's going to be hard for that king to protect that knight also. Maybe this move is better than chasing the knight with e4. King only has one move to maintain his protection of the knight. Has to move up to e3. And now this wins the knight. Takes the knight with check. Perhaps I should pause now here for g7. I think that would have been a nice solid move. King to g7. A nice solid move which doesn't distract from black's advantage. No need to give up anything unnecessarily. When trying to convert a clearly winning position. Of course, this pawn here his bishop is aiming at is not relevant at all to the process of conversion. Instead, I decide to eliminate a couple of pawns here on the queen side. Yeah, there was no hurry for this maneuver. Just king to g7 would have guarded the base of my pawn chain. But it's so far gone, it just doesn't matter. White plays a completely ridiculous move, which makes no sense at all. Also, simply rook takes, bishop checks. Rook takes bishop, not a check. King takes rook, and pawn pushes. Easy. Now it's mate in 7. And this is a maneuver seen many times in these endings where you can take the rook, but black queens. Setting up a mating net. So this move is just to guard the king from escaping to the g6 square. The main thing is to make sure that black doesn't create stalemate. Okay, that's it. I hope you found that educational. If you like that, please give a like, maybe a comment. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching.